Hello, welcome everyone to ARML.
Yeah, welcome to ARML season.
That's Hannah Fox.
That face.
All right, so I think as people are still trickling in, what we're going to do here today is that I wanted to, introduce ARML a little bit. This session is primarily intended for people who have been to ARML, who are new to ARML and who want to find out what ARML is all about. If you are experienced, if you've come to ARML before, if you've been on the trip before, if you're a returning member, we're happy to have you here. A lot of this information you might find is some stuff that you already know. Some of it will be new for this year. And if there's anything that you have to contribute to about your experience and so on, I'm very happy to have you jump in and share. We'll keep the chat open. So if anyone has questions, then hoping to have an interactive session here, where we just talk about ARML. So I'll be watching the chat, and if anyone has questions, please by all means feel free to jump in. And with that said, I'll go ahead and slowly get started as people trickle in. Let me see.
Yeah, also there are multiple coaches here who are watching the chat, so don't worry about interrupting. Just ask your questions and we will answer.
All right. So okay, so maybe I'll just I'll go ahead and get started. So SFBA NorCal ARML, that's what we are, and this is our first info session, our first really event of this ARML season. So SFBA NorCal, that's San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California. I know that the past couple of years we've been combined with Wild Wild West. Now that we're going back in person, we're going to split the teams up. So while you'll still see some of us around at Wild Wild West and vice versa, the two teams will be more separate this year than they have been in the past. So if any of you are here looking for Wild Wild West, a lot of this will not apply to you, and you should look for their information instead.
Yeah, in fact, Wild Wild West will be hosting ARML Local on Sunday at 3 p.m. Arizona time. At that point, Tim will also lead an information session specifically for Wild Wild West. That said, you're still welcome to hang out here.
All right, so the agenda for today, there's a lot of bullets here, but I'll try to make this fast. I don't want this to turn into an hour-long lecture because we do have some math that I want to do at the end. So this is more or less what we'll be talking about today. Throughout this process, I know there's Q&A at the end, but throughout this process, if you want to ask questions, make this more interactive, please do. Otherwise, it's just going to be an information dump. All right, so about us. We are the SFBA NorCal team. We represent the San Francisco Bay Area as well as Northern California, which means that there's two really main groups. Most of us are in the Bay Area, and you always say SFBA for short. There is a substantial group as well in the Sacramento area, and they have practices out of Davis. So throughout today, you'll hear me mention that the SAC group sometimes has different practices, different materials, different process than the rest of SFBA, because we don't want to make people in Sacramento drive to, say, San Jose for practice, for example. So keep that in mind if you're from SAC. We have some of our SAC leaders here in the call as well, Rebecca and I guess not Owen, just Rebecca. So I'll bring them in as well to talk about some SAC stuff later on. As far as coaches go, we are, our team is coached by a lot of alums from the team, a lot of students from Berkeley and Stanford. You'll see mathleague.org a lot. That is the organization, or mathleague runs a bunch of contests, and that's also the organization that helps us organize this team. So you'll see Tim and Silas and so on, and they work on mathleague and they also work on our team, and a lot of our paperwork and so on. On the finances, you'll see mathleague a lot. In terms of our team, we have 25 plus years of history, a bunch of national championships. This is a picture of one of our teams from, I forget when, but as you can see, it's a pretty big group in Vegas. Every team has their own color. That's tradition. The coaches have tie-dye. That's what I'm wearing right now. That's also tradition. That's what we do. So yeah, so that's us. I'll go ahead and charge onward. So about ARML, in terms of what is ARML, right? So ARML stands for the American Regions Math League. Started in New York, called NISML. In 1976, it became the Atlantic Regions Math League, New York plus surrounding states. And then it became nationwide American Regions Math League. They added international teams. And now it's a big deal. It's one of the oldest, most prestigious team-oriented math competitions. And team-oriented, I think, is really key, right? Is that this is a team competition, and ARML is really all about the team. It's all about the team experience. It's all about working with other people, getting to know people from your region, from other regions, and that interaction, right? That's what makes ARML really special and unique. And that's why I think ARML is so much fun. There are some divisions: A division, B division, international division. We'll be competing in division A, which is the division with the teams that have historically done well in recent years. And a lot more information about ARML is at arml.com if you are looking for any of that. So yeah, so let's talk about teams and what that looks like. So I talked about how ARML is the core to ARML is a team competition. Teams are 15 students at ARML, which is unusually big, right? You've seen a lot of competitions from other places, competitions that are 6 students, 8 students. A lot of you might have been to SMT this past weekend. That was 5 to 8 students. Tier teams are 15 students representing a region. A region could be anything, right? It could be Wild Wild West, being a bunch of states in the Wild West that you might expect. It could be the state of Washington. It could be part of a state like us, right? We have SFBA NorCal. In California, there's also Southern California and San Diego, which are different teams. It could be a city, it could be a school, and a region can have multiple teams. So historically, the SFBA region has brought, anywhere from 3 to 7 teams. And that's a lot of people. So the way we work is that we believe in being inclusive. Everyone who wants to go to ARML, who gets their stuff in on time, will be able to go to ARML. That's how we operate.
Yeah, so we'll just add as many teams as is necessary for y'all to be able to go to ARML. Like if we end up having maybe more than, say, 5 capacities, a team capacity for 5 teams, then we'll just make a 6th. We want all of you to make it and have the fun experience that ARML is. Yeah,
that's right. I think that's really what ARML is about, is that experience. The way ARML works is that there are four sites. There's Penn State in Pennsylvania, University of Iowa, University of Alabama, Huntsville, and where we compete, which is the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, which is the site for the entirety of the West Coast. And it's 2 days of competition this year, June 3rd and 4th. So moving on.
Historically, ARML is always the weekend after Memorial Day. So it's always that time of year. And of course, Vegas is very hot then, but that just adds to the charm.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about the contest format for those of you who don't know, who haven't been to ARML before. So there's really 4 rounds, 3 of which are team rounds and 1 of which is individual round. There's a team round, which is 10 questions in 20 minutes. And if you think about 10 questions in 20 minutes with 15 people, it is a substantial coordination challenge, right? You only have 20 minutes. You need to get 15 people to work together on a set of problems and to have them really agree on a set of answers, right? And that is hard. If you have everyone start at problem 1, it won't really work out, right? You're not going to get to problem 10. So that's something that we'll experience later today. I'm hoping to drop everyone into a room or 2 and have you work on a team round together in the second half of this info session. So from around 6:30 to 7. That's the plan. We have a power round, and if you've seen other power rounds in the past, you know how this works. It's a multi-part proof question. It's 60 minutes long, and it's basically some themed round in which there's some topic, and you're given a bunch of proof-based questions around that topic. There's a relay round, which is, I think, one of the parts one of the rounds that makes ARML really special. You split a 15-person team into 5 3-person groups, and each mini group gets 3 interlinked questions. Each person gets 1. So if I'm in a group, then persons 1 with my group of 3 people, the first person gets problem 1, the second person gets problem 2, the third person gets problem 3. If I'm person 1, I solve my problem and I pass my answer on a little slip of paper to the person behind me, whose problem starts with let t equals the TNYWR, the number you will receive, right? And they'll plug in my answer to do their problem. They'll pass an answer back behind them, and person 3 will then plug that in to solve their question to get the final answer. And this all happens in 3 to 6 minutes. So this is a really fast-paced test. It's a lot of fun, right? And we do this all together in one big room. It's always super exciting to have that happen.
So there's also person 3 is going to be the person whose only their answer gets submitted. Person 1 and 2, while their answers are involved in getting to the third person's answers, their answers aren't actually going to be sent in for grading. Also, it's 3 minutes or 6 minutes. You can't submit in between those 2 times, but it's just one or the other. You'll have the opportunity to raise your hand with the paper if you're person number 3, and then turn in your answer. And you'll get 5 points if you submit a correct answer at 3 minutes, and 3 points if you submit a correct answer at 6 minutes. So you are encouraged to try to make the faster deadline.
Yeah. For individual round, the individual portion of the contest, individual round is 10 questions, 2 questions at a time. So in pairs, 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4 together, and so on. 10 minutes per pair. And you'll see this in the tryout that we're going to have at 7 o'clock. And I'll talk more about tryouts in a little bit. But from 7 to 8 today, we'll have something like this for our tryout. No calculators on any part of ARML. It's not a can you program your TID 9 kind of contest. And difficulty level, this is a guess at the difficulty level, but mid AMC to mid AME with some substantial outliers. Sometimes something turns up that's really hard. But that's sort of the overall, I think, average difficulty level. I think that's a reasonable estimate. All right. And in terms of scoring, I'm not going to talk too much about this in detail. There's a bunch of numbers on this slide. Just to give you a rough idea of how the competition is structured, half the points go into the individual round. The other half the points are split between team power relay. So 150 individual, 50, 50, 50 for team power and relay, half and half between the team components and the individual components. So all of these different rounds really do matter. And I've written some numbers here about the top teams are usually in the 200 out of 300 range. So as you can see, it's a substantially, it's a fairly difficult contest, right? There's always a bunch of problems on the competition that everyone struggles with. It's not one of these contests where the top teams are getting close to perfect scores. And that's kind of the charm, right? Is being able to have some hard problems that you struggle on with your friends. That's always one of the things that makes ARML great. Okay, let's talk about logistics. So we are planning to, I guess, first things first, since this is the question that everyone has been talking about. We are planning to go on site this year at UNLV in Las Vegas on June 3rd and June 4th, Friday and Saturday. I will add maybe a verbal asterisk to this, which is that we reserve the right to reconsider this plan if we do not, if the numbers don't work out. So if not enough people sign up, well, we reserve the right to reconsider this plan about going on site versus off site. But for now, we're going to go on site. And this is maybe a prod to all of you who have not gotten your registrations or payments in, that we really need to know if you're procrastinating or if you're not planning to come, because that is a big open question that we have been gossiping about, and that you all have the answer to, but we do not.
Yeah, this is really important because the registration deadline for on-site is a lot earlier than the registration deadline for off-site. So we actually need those payments in by April 27th so that we can make sure that we register on-site teams on time, or if we realize that we need to back out and go off-site instead. I have put a link into the chat, mathleague.org/armlsfba.php. That is the link to our team's website. You'll be able to find information about policies and other things there. There's also the information sheet, which you will need to fill out first to sign up for the competition, and then you'll need to go and pay online as well, because your payment is your commitment to coming to ARML.
Right. And I'll have a slide about this later on in the slide deck, where we'll talk about this again. Right. So for now, I'm going to talk about the logistics for on-site, because that is what we are currently planning. And if changes need to be made, we will make those changes whenever we need to do so. So June 3rd and 4th are the competition dates. We usually travel on Thursday, June 2nd, the Thursday before ARML, by bus from San Jose to Vegas. There will be a bus or possibly 2 or 3 vans, depending on how we choose to do it this year. We'll have the competition. We'll get there Thursday night. We'll sleep. We'll have the competition on Friday and Saturday. Friday morning and afternoon, we have team meetings. We have warm up. We have lunch. We have some time with the team to really get to know each other, to work together. The competition starts Friday evening with the power round and the team round, which are 2 of the components of the competition. We sleep Friday night, and we actually do make sure we sleep Friday night, because on Saturday, we've got breakfast and the rest of the competition, right? Individual round, relay round, lunch, tiebreakers, all the way up through the awards in the afternoon. On Saturday evening, we'll have some fun activities. And on Sunday, I guess Saturday evening, we have some fun activities. And also, we tend to stay up pretty late, just, playing games and celebrating whatever it is that we've achieved, and just enjoying each other's company. On Sunday, we'll come back. In the morning, we'll get on the bus or vans, and we'll drive back from Vegas all the way back to San Jose on June 5th. For those of you who need to fly for some reason, for example, if you really need to go to school on Thursday or have some other commitment, some other conflict, there is usually an option to fly Friday morning and Saturday evening. Fly to Vegas Friday morning, fly home Saturday evening. Possibly there may also be an option to fly Thursday evening. These will probably come with an additional cost for the flight, and Silas will be reaching out with details about that sometime next week. So
we have been able to provide a small rebate from your ARML participation fee to help subsidize flight costs. That said, this is not a guarantee. It's just a possibility.
Right. So more details about the flights coming soon. For those of you who are from Sacramento, historically, everyone from Sacramento has flown, because Sacramento is even further from Vegas than we are here in the Bay Area. So that is something to keep in mind, is that the Sacramento group will generally all fly. In terms of the logistics, in terms of the cost of the trip this year is $440. This includes the ARML registration fee, a seat on the bus or the vans to ARML and back, the dorm nights for the nights that you're there, breakfast and lunch on Saturday, a team t-shirt. It does not include other meals, does not include snacks, souvenirs, and the like. But everything else is covered by that cost. If you take a flight, there is an additional cost. As Freya said, there may be a partial subsidy with a refund on the payment. We'll see about that. So more details coming from Silas sometime next week. All right, let's move on to something more fun. So let's talk about practices. So yeah, this year we're going to do things a little bit differently than we have in the past. So those of you who have been with us in the past know that historically we've done a lot of practices on weekends over many weeks, and they've all been pretty short. This year we want to do something different. So we're going to have 3 in-person weekend practices in May. And those are the weekends of May 7th and 8th, May 14th, 15th, and May 21st, 22nd. And more details about that will be coming soon. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now with the practice website, where you can find more information about the exact schedule. Some of this is still to be determined. We're currently looking at these in-person practices being all day. So all day being sort of all day. I'm guessing 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to focus on team rounds, team relay, sometimes power. And the idea is that we'll probably have a morning session. We'll break for lunch, order some pizzas in or something. and then continue in the afternoon. Also, we'll have some fun social time. Maybe someone will give a talk about something cool. Maybe we'll play some mathematical games and have some time for the team to really get to know each other and not just do practice, but also hopefully learn something cool. So that's what we're planning for our practices in the Bay Area. If anyone has leads on practice locations, let me know if your high school can host a team. If you know of a local community center, a local church that might be able to host a team. If you have any leads, let us know. We're currently working on this as well, but always interested in looking for new practice locations, new venues that we can look at. For those of you in Sacramento, I will maybe invite Rebecca to chat about what Sacramento is doing.
Yeah, so we have practices at UC Davis from 12 to 2 on Saturdays. So if you guys live in like the Sacramento Valley area, you can email us at the email on the slide, or I guess chat with me now, and we'll add you to our mailing list. So yeah.
All right, perfect. And yeah, so Sacramento independent practices. If you want to come to something in the Bay Area, you're by all means welcome to, but I understand it's a long way and you're by no means required to do so. And I think the Sacramento, we always like having a nice cohesive group from Sacramento. And I think these weekly practices sound like they'll be a great deal of fun. I'm hoping that I can make it up to one of them too, but we'll see. So I've put this link in the chat already, but that's the link to my practice website for everything about our practices. I also post practice materials there after every single practice. So if you miss a practice, you'll be able to go there and check out whatever information you missed. Going on. Okay, so let's talk about tryouts. Everyone, so as we talked about earlier, everyone who wants to join the team will be on the team as long as you meet the deadlines, which I will have on, I think, the next slide, maybe the one after. So everyone who wants to join will be on a team, but we're going to select a few elite teams to compete against the other top teams, right? So we might bring 4 teams, let's say, but we'll select one team, which will be called SFBA A1. And that's the team that we're going to select to represent us in terms of trying to be at the top of the rankings, right? Everyone is all of ARML's teams, with some caveats about divisions, will be on the same ranking, right? But we want to have one team that's really trying to be first and trying to beat, for example, New York City's A1 or Texas A1 or Thomas Jefferson's A1. So that's what we have here. We'll have 3 tryout opportunities. You do not have to attend all of them. They're not required. They're highly recommended. We understand that, there's 3 practices, there's 3 tryouts over like 4 days. 4 days, right? And everyone's busy, right? So you're definitely not expected to attend all of them. We encourage you to attend as many as you can. If you don't attend any of them, that's okay. You can still be on an elite team. However, we do hope that you'll try to attend them if at all possible. One of them is right after, and the trial locations are all online. So ARML Locals will be online as well. The first one will be right after this at 7 p.m., which is 35 minutes from now on this Zoom call. So if you just stay here 35 minutes from now, you'll be in a tryout. Tomorrow night, we have ARML Local, which I will be talking about shortly. And then Monday, we'll do exactly the same thing that we're doing today. We'll have an info session with these slides, possibly with some of the typos cleaned up. And then we'll also have a tryout. Monday's tryout will be different than today's trial. So it'll be different problems. The slides will be the same. The info session piece will be the same, but the last hour to tryouts will not be the same. Tryouts are not required. They're highly recommended. And even if you're not interested in being on an elite team, you're still encouraged to come to tryouts because they're 1, nice practice, and 2, a nice way to find out more about what ARML is about if you haven't been to ARML before. So totally everyone's encouraged to stay for that.
Yeah, as a note, we're probably not going to be doing much individual round practice during our 3 in-person practices. And the reason for this is because we only have limited time to bond with our teams. So we want to have the opportunity to use the time to the best of our ability and learn to work together and do team rounds, do relay rounds, because individual rounds can usually be done on your own. They're often searchable on AOBS or through books or ARML's own published books. That said, this is our opportunity to do this proctored individual rounds here. So we hope you can make it.
All right, cool. Let's talk about ARML Local, since I am rapidly running out of time here, since we still want to have time for you to do some math later. ARML Local is tomorrow, which is super exciting. It's Saturday, April 23rd, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. For those of you who are participating in BMMT tomorrow, this will be after BMMT ends, and you will be able to do both. And we've specifically picked an evening time in order to make that possible. This is also why it's online, to make sure that everyone who wants to participate will be able to make it. So this is online. I realize that's not on the slide. This is an official contest written by ARML for teams to take in their local area. It will feature team, relay, individual. It will not include a power round. It will be teams of 6 with slightly different rules. The team round is a different length than usual. The relay round works a little bit differently than usual. We'll talk about all the details tomorrow and not today, about all the slight variations, but overall it's structurally very similar to ARML, similar style of questions. And it's a nice way for us to kick off the season with something that, looks like ARML and really is ARML. So everyone is welcome. For those of you who are in our region, no payment is required.
Yeah, in fact, even if you can't go to ARML, you cannot make it, you're still welcome to come to ARML Local. So you can just invite all your friends and they can come. Their registration link for ARML Local, the Zoom registration, is in the chat. The same for Monday's info session. So yeah, invite your friends. Everyone's welcome, and y'all should come too.
Okay. Yes. So everyone's welcome. You don't have to have signed up. You don't have to have done anything. You just show up. I think Sacramento is going to also have their own ARML Local session on Sunday. So Rebecca, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we're also doing it like virtually on Sunday though, in the afternoon. So yeah, if anyone is interested in joining us for that from around our area, you are welcome to.
All right.
Yeah, the one thing is that you cannot go to both sessions because the contest questions would be exactly the same. So if you come on Saturday, please don't show up on Sunday. If you go on Sunday, please don't show up on Saturday. Yes.
And with that said, if you can't make one, then it may be possible for you to attend the other. So that is ARML Local. So Saturday for the Bay Area, Sunday in Sacramento. Reach out to Rebecca. And I'll paste the email for the SAC group in the chat as well. And this is also try opportunity, the individual round specifically. All right, let's talk about how to join. So I think we're almost at the end of the slide deck. Complete the information sheet. Let's see. Let me yeah, so complete the information sheet. This is on the website that we had before. So this is here's our team website. You'll have to complete the information sheet and also pay for ARML. Both of these need to be done by April 27th. We are operating on a substantially shorter timeline than we did back in 2019 because ARML has brought forward, made it substantially earlier when it is that we have to get them our information. Please do complete the information sheet and pay for ARML as soon as you can. The coaching team, the coaching staff are really wondering how many people are going to have this year. I know there's a bunch of challenges involving going back to in person after the 2 years of COVID. There's a kind of a learning curve with going back in person. There's a bunch of scheduling challenges. So if you can get this done earlier, we would really appreciate it. We are really trying to figure out how many teams we're going to have. And the earlier you can get your stuff in, the easier it is for us. Also, if you can get your paperwork in earlier, it means that you're not trying to rush through it at the end. It means that if there's any issues with your paperwork, that we can reach out and we have time to reach out to you and fix it. So as early as possible, that is our request. I'll go ahead and put the email here in the chat as well. This is the same thing that's on the slide. So if you have any questions, you can email at us here. This is a mailing list that goes to me and Freya, Simon, also Tim and Silas, who you have not yet met, but who are also supporting the team as well.
Yeah, also just if you have general questions, maybe about like the ARML experience or what you might be like looking for in the trip, if you have like, concerns about COVID or anything else in-person related, feel free to email us. We're happy to talk with you and help you figure things out.
All right, so I guess I'll leave this up for a couple minutes while we get organized for the next thing, which is this is an open space where you ask questions. What are you wondering about? What's unclear? Are you interested and excited? Are there things that you're concerned about? And while we're doing that, I think we're going to try to get set up and run a short mini practice with a team round. And the goal here is just to show those of you who are new, something of what the ARML experience is like, right? Normally we'd be doing this in person in a classroom with a whiteboard and all of you shouting answers out. But today I think we're just toss you in the breakout rooms and do this online to try to give you a taste of that and introduce you to what ARML is all about. Freya, while we are answering some questions, should we split into 2 rooms?
Yeah, I think 2 rooms should be fine. Are you able to create the breakout rooms? And also we should just make sure that one returning student's in each room to that.
Yes, I can start working on that. So Theon, how many people usually sign up for the elite teams? It depends. I think we'll pick elite teams based on how many teams we have. I'm gonna start setting up some breakout rooms.
Oh yeah, also my virtual background was taken while at an ARML trip. I think 2018. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a couple breakout rooms. We'll run our team round with a slightly smaller group than we normally do. So it looks like there's going to be around 10 of you in each room rather than 15. In order to just in order to make this a little bit less chaotic. Let me see. Yeah, so hopefully this will work. So we'll see you back in around 25 minutes for the tryouts, but for now, I think there should be someone experienced in each room to run this.